makings of a great series. 2:23 left. Tie game.
Morrissey, left side point. Along the boards now for Scheifele. Twists off the boards. Far side. Shot makes the hole! Kyle Connor with his first of the playoffs. And Winnipeg has regained the lead. It's 4-3 for the Jets with 1:36 remaining. And this place is on its ear. Hamling to it as Appleton to the empty net from center. Came off the back wall and Lowry shoots and scores. I would tell you to get on your feet, but you're already there. The Winnipeg Jets score 3 unanswered in the third and come back to win game 1. 5-3 the final score, and they lead the series 1 game to none.
Yeah, first puck number 1 is going to go to Mark Scheifele.
Rick Zen says, Great Barry, Al, you're a freaking warrior. But, boys, that was a great win. Pretty fun in that atmosphere, but, work's not over. Let's enjoy tonight, and then we're on to it on Monday.
Ooh, you were saying?
You just didn't have enough time?
What's that?
You got so distracted by the video.
We have a producer, and I totally forgot I control the microphone, so that's on me. It's
he
game
got
2.
so distracted.
I'm like,
oohing and awing. He's standing like this, watching it, going, "Oh, this is
because that was really good.
This is so
that's
good."
Why we had to. That's why I felt we had to run that to open the show.
It was very good.
It was, my goodness. The emotions that went through game 1.
Okay, let's get to that in a second. Let's get to that in a second.
Right.
Jeez.
I'm just fired up here.
I can tell. I can tell. This is going to go off the rails,
Yeah.
and it's going to go off the rails
Right now, it already has.
Yeah, it has. I'm Sarah Lusky. He's Jamie Thomas. Thanks so much for checking in. Great to see so many of you in the chat already. Love to see it. We are going to get
Let's
you
name all of you.
for game 2 coming up tonight here at Canada Life Center. Between the Blues and the Jets obviously winning game 1, getting that all-important first win under their belt in this series, and they look to go 2-0 after tonight. We will get you set, get you some sound from inside the dressing room over the next 30 minutes, help set up the game. And who do we have joining us today?
Well, used to work with him. Good guy. Some of the 4 Nation face-off. Kyle Bukauskas.
I wonder how he'd feel about that.
What's that?
Well, just working with you. That might be how we actually spend half of the time with Kyle today.
I'm talking about the time we have. Like Kyle and I have so many behind-the-scenes stories, and those stories you're not supposed to tell.
Yeah.
Inside jokes.
I bet you'd tell them, though.
Yeah,
I bet you would.
Because he's a great storyteller. So Kyle's going to be joining us at 12:50 to talk about many things.
Yeah.
Joining 32 Thoughts was Elliot Freeman. And, of course, we won't talk to him very long about this, but the Leafs beating Ottawa yesterday.
Battle of Ontario. Look,
yeah.
Regardless of how people feel sometimes and the sensitivities that can exist about the Leafs, Battle of Ontario is a massive series that I think a lot of people are looking forward to seeing how it turns out, obviously, with the Leafs with a huge win yesterday. Okay, but here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's hear your thoughts on game 1.
Okay. So I think what we've
got... Pull
got...
up a chair, everybody.
It's story time with Jamie. I think every year as you go into this and you talk about the whiteout, and even when you tell people about it, how exciting it is and how cool it is. But every year never gets old. So we had a bunch of new staff with us this year as opposed to last year, just watching everybody take it in for the first time. That's cool. But then the emotions that go with it, it doesn't matter how many times the players have been through it. Mm-hmm. It's just the overwhelming thing that happens. Like Mason Appleton said today, it's so bright in there with all the white and over the sounds overwhelming. And, you heard Scott Oakes say, I can't hear myself talk. And it's so cool. So I think there was that early nerves going on in the first period naturally, which allowed St. Louis to take an early lead. But the way the game progressed, you started to see Jets hockey take over. And that, I think that in itself is what's different about this team this year, is that they're not going away from what works for them. And that's what I saw a great example of that in game number 1.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest takeaway for me out of that, is that what we had seen through the regular season, what had become characteristic of this Jets team in terms of their resiliency, of staying the course, getting back if they weren't able to establish their structure in their game early on, which we didn't see. Scott Arniel, not a huge fan of that first period.
Yes.
Like the second period, more really like the third period, and understandably so. They held the Blues to just 2 shots. But I think that being able to see them find their game, there was no panic amongst them. I think that it was great to be able to see that the game that they played in the regular season, they were able to transition into the postseason, at least for game 1.
Right. And you even go back to last year when they beat Colorado in game 1. That game was all over the place.
It was.
Yeah, like it looked like the Jets would have control of it, and then it would go away, and they take it back, and that was not at all what was happening in game 1 on Saturday.
Some of the thoughts from the Blues side, Jim Montgomery saying afterwards, didn't think that puck management and decision-making was quick enough for them. Defensively, their habits weren't good enough. And in particular, he looked at penalties and puck management in the third period. Braden Shen saying they need to learn from their mistakes. That's a mix of players on that Blues team that are experienced. They've got a ton of veteran experience. We heard Jeremy Rutherford say that in terms of games played regular season, there's over 5,000 games played just on their blue line. But they also had a number of players in key roles that this was their first postseason experience. And you've got to think of how daunting it would be, how nerve-wracking it would be to be in your first playoff game period. But then when you're coming in as the visitor to the whiteout, to this atmosphere, I think it'd be a lot for someone to be able to take in. So that was kind of the St. Louis side of it, looking to make adjustments here for game 2 tonight.
Yeah, and they will make adjustments. Will you want to take a look at the Jets lineup first?
Let's turn our attention to game 2 now. Let's take a look at what the expected lines are for the Jets tonight. And after the success that they had in game 1, no surprise that as of now, at least what we're thinking, that there will be no changes to this lineup.
Yeah, and we'll touch on certainly a lot of things, but we're not going to talk about this a little bit later, but I do want to touch on quickly, we've always talked about the Jets' depth. The second line I thought was really good. Like, I thought it's great that you have Nino Niederreiter, who is a guy today that Scott Arniel said that he's there for his size. He's got to get on the forecheck. You have 2 very creative players in Vladislav Nemestikov and Cole Perfetti. So I think for a playoff line, this is a very good mix. And I like what they saw. Perfetti took a huge hit in the first period and then just bounced back and gave it back. So that's I think we've seen the progression of Cole this year in that aspect of just not so much taking hits, but giving it right back afterwards. And that's been very critical for him this year. So really liked top to bottom from what the Jets got from all 4 lines on Saturday night.
Absolutely. If you have been on social media, you might see that as well, that Gabe Vilardi took part in the optional practice yesterday, was out on the ice today in the non-contact jersey as well for morning skate. Still a ways away from having him return, but another positive sign that he was with the group this morning.
Yeah, he's around. It's not so much just in the dressing room now. Now it's on the ice, taking part of practice. Alex Follow was joking yesterday about all the, is joking with him all the time. But the key part here is Scott Arniel was adamant about this. When the jersey color changes, we'll start talking about when he's going to be, when he'll be a player in any game going forward.
But we always know that it is a hot topic amongst Jets fans looking for the updates. So that is the latest regarding Gabe Vilardi. But earlier, just about an hour and a half ago, Scott Arniel spoke to media about a variety of things. It wasn't a particularly long availability, but one thing that he was asked was, with the schedule being what it is, and you look at the fact that there's a 2-day break in between games now, does that change the way that you might manage the bench? Might you shorten it earlier on, given the fact that players will have the opportunity to rest after this?
The importance of winning this game, you're going to do whatever it takes. Don't worry about the next one. Whatever it takes tonight, that's what you're going to do. And we don't not looking for days off or rest. It's about making sure we win this game. But honestly, we're just zooming in. We got home ice advantage. We got game 1. Now we have to go get game 2. It's the first team to 4, and so let's get the 2 as fast as we can. Hopefully that's tonight.
Proud.
Well, I think that we went through it the other night. I think there were a lot of nerves, and now tonight I'm hoping, okay, we've been down this road. Let's be ready for it. We do need a better start in the first. I thought the biggest thing for me, when our execution is good, especially early in games, it helps us get up and running, and that's what I'm hoping for tonight. When you ask me about a better start, for me, our execution would be the biggest thing.
So there he is. It's about the execution. But the first part of that question was coming from Kelly Moore about how do you manage your bench? And you talked about there's going to be a 2-day break between this game and game 3, another 2-day break between 3 and 4. And if there's a game 5, same thing.
Yeah.
But Scott cleared that up right away. You do everything you can to win. This is what you got to this point. It's not about resting people.
It's a rush to 4.
Yeah.
Get there as quickly as you can. I thought that actually I really liked Scott's demeanor in the availability today, which you can tell. I mean, getting that first win under the belt, there was a little bit. I mean, it's going to be a very challenging season. I don't think anyone is expecting this to be a sweep in 4, given the tenacity of the Blues and the talent that they have. But I think that at least having the lead right now, he just seemed like he was smiling. He was joking around, and sometimes he can give off that tense energy.
Yes.
I think there was a confidence about it when he was speaking with the media today.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yes, exactly, Ash. Best coach in the league. And maybe, I don't know, like the Jack Adams trophy for best coach is a regular season award. We're wondering when the votes start coming in that something has got to come out of this about how good of a job he did. And you and I've pushed for him already in this department. We don't get a vote. But we can start pushing other people for that. And speaking of who, someone who has a vote is Ken Wiebe. And he was on our show the other day, and all the things he addressed pretty much popped up. We asked him about Mark Scheifele. We asked him about X factors in the series, and Morgan Barrett played a big role in that one. Jake Neighbors was mentioned from his as well. But on top of that, it was Mark Scheifele taking that step. This is the guy that has to lead Winnipeg. In this postseason.
The top line certainly did.
It did a great job. 3 points each for Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele. Kyle Connor scores the game-winning goal with $1:36 left in the third period, but they were dominant. They were fantastic.
Alex Iafallo
got the game-tying goal in the third period as well. So, who has a great seat, a great position watching Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele go to work night over night is Connor Hellebuyck, and let's hear from him right now.
Let's do that.
Thank you for your enthusiasm.
Oh, it's amazing. It's all I want to do is put the puck in his hands, and he does some fantastic things. Like I said before, I'm lucky to play with him. He's absolutely fantastic. He shoots the puck fantastic. He does so many little things fantastic, and like I said a million times, he's amazing to play with.
They're just two elite players that see the game so well. There's guys with a ton of skill, and then there's guys that are smart, and they kind of have both. And when you put them together, they use both, and that's what makes them so elite together. And then you throw, really anyone you want on there, but AI is doing a phenomenal job of just getting pucks, great stick play, and driving the net. And when G's on there, and he adds a whole nother dynamic to that line. So they're just deadly and fun to watch.
We should mention Mark Scheifele is now, not so much officially, but became the Jets Thrashers all-time leading playoff scorer. He had those 3 points, pushed him in front of Blake Wheeler in that department. So just a matter of time before he becomes the franchise all-time leading scorer during the regular season as well. But just a great game by the top line, taking care of business in game 1.
Look, your best players need to be your best. As much as we talk about the depth, and look, I think that that's something that we saw, obviously. You mentioned Morgan Barron, the job that he did in game, that line, Jared Anderson-Dalton with
David Gustafson.
So the depth is important in order for the Jets to be able to have success in this series as well as beyond. But at the end of the day, let's be honest, it's going to be your best players that are going to get you through it. And that's certainly what we saw in game 1.
Especially in the third period.
Yes. Yeah. And that they came alive as the game went on and really took it, I thought, on their shoulders to be able to be the difference makers, which they were. But as I mentioned, depth was key as well. They got contributions board. That's something that we have seen from this Jets team, again, all throughout the season. So another positive sign is you're wondering how their regular season game is going to transition into the postseason to be able to see the contributions that we did.
Yeah, and speaking of your best players, another one of your best players is your goaltender.
Yep.
And Connor Hellebuyck's, it's the business his. We all should be expecting him to win the Hart Trophy, though we don't have a lot of say in that department, but was not very busy. And I think there was a lot of rumbling, certainly when it was 3-2, when St. Louis had scored their second power play goal tonight. But I remember the third goal that St. Louis scored, Oscar Sundqvist, massive screen in front. And we had just ran that clip earlier in the day from Mike Kelly of NHL Network about 10 goals in the series against Colorado came off screens. And I texted you. I'm like, hey, there's one of those goals. We're going to have to, that might come up to it, because some people be going, oh, you let in 3 goals. Here comes situation from last year. I know there's a lot of criticism about Helly on a Hockey Night in Canada, but when St. Louis had the lead, who made a save on a breakaway at the end of the second period?
Yeah.
Breakaway on Jordan Kyrou, one of the Blues' best players, one of the big chances the Jets gave up after about the halfway point of the hockey game. And Hellebuyck makes that save. So there you're leaning on one of your best players to make a key play, and the Jets go on to tie at the beginning part of the third and go on to win the game.
Okay, so when you're looking at that game overall, obviously, despite the win, there are areas that the Jets want to clean up going into this too, and that they're going to need to clean up. In your mind, what are a couple?
Well, they're pretty glaring. Clearly, the penalty kill gave up 2 power play goals. Now, it was Scott O'Neill kind of talked about how over aggressive. We're going to get to the clip here in a second. They were a little too aggressive. They want them to be aggressive, but they're a little too aggressive in some departments, and certainly faceoffs. And it was a very good question asked from Kelly Morgan on yesterday after the Jets optional skate at Hockey for All Center. Just touching on those departments. Faceoffs are so critical in many departments, but I like how Scott points out to all of us, it's not just the centerman that loses a faceoff. There's more to it than just that. So just listen to this clip from him.
Penalty kill, we got to, there's some areas we got over aggressive actually. We had talked about part of how we kill, but we got a little bit too aggressive and kind of left some openings. But the face-off part for me isn't. It's not on the centerman to win these draws clean. To me, there's a lot of 50-50 pucks, and that's something that throughout the season we actually keep track of. We were number 10 in the league on 50-50 draws and coming up with pucks. I thought last night we weren't very good. We were way below 50, and we have to get back to that. Starting with pucks, it certainly it changes the opposition. They have to go into defend mode when you do that, and certainly we saw what happened when you win a draw, the Kyle Connor goal. So it is important. It is an area that we'll talk about. Penalty kill, like I said, those adjustments. Power play, there's adjustments that you have to make as the series moves on.
Now, so giving up the 2 power play goals. Now you're kind of criticizing the penalty kill, but here's the thing. That was only the 3rd time in the last 43 games the Jets have given up 2 power play goals in a game. So they have been remarkably consistent. It was just St. Louis's power play had been one of the best, 3rd best since Four Nations face-off. So you are going up against a pretty elite unit in that department. But those you just heard Scott O'Neill talk about being over aggressive and got them out of position, which is what you don't want to see, especially against something as good as St. Louis.
I think that listening. So that answer from Scott came, as you mentioned, yesterday after practice, and this morning he commented about his voice going on him a bit because he has to yell so much louder. I see people in the chat asking whether or not maybe if he needs to be bleeped as often as what we saw on broadcast with Paul Maurice, and no, although I mean he certainly can send strong messages, but he said he has to yell so loudly for the players to be able to hear him that his voice is going hoarse, which I got a little bit of kick out of actually both coaches making having some fun with some of their comments. I do think that when you look at the penalty kill, that's certainly something that they're going to key in on for this game if the opportunity arises that they have to be out there shorthanded.
And another part too is Logan Stanley talked about just cut back on the penalties. And I think a lot of that has to do with the emotion. It was extremely physical. St. Louis had, I think, almost 60 hits in game 1.
Well, and I think we've seen that kind of across the board. You look at at the end of the game, I mean, when you saw, the scrums ensue and everyone get kicked out, I was underneath the stands. And so I wasn't able to hear or particularly see, other than out of the corner of my eye off a monitor, what was going on. But all I know is that it was one player after another player after another that just kept walking by. I was joking that they weren't going to be able to finish the last 20 seconds because there weren't going to be enough players left on the ice. But I think we saw that in a variety of series in game 1, as teams try to establish their game, there's all that extra emotion, which not that you don't have it throughout all games in a 7-game series, but that first game in particular, I think that you start to see more of it, and then it settles in as the series goes on.
Well, St. Louis is trying to take the crowd out of it.
Yes.
That's flat out what they're trying to do. And, for a little bit they did, but to you guys' credit, you guys were unreal from start to finish.
Yeah. We will continue to set up the game. We'll hear from Neil Pionk. We'll also give you the update on some of the changes that the Blues look like they could be making in their lineup. But
our good friend Kyle Bukauskas, it was a late start or late start time or late call time to my good friend from Sportsnet, but he answered the bell, and Kyle Bukauskas is joining us now from somewhere.
You are so kind to say yes to JT's request to come on, Kyle.
Well, really why I said yes, Sarah, is because you and I both share an affinity for the Green Bay Packers. Jamie, I have no problem saying no to, but I had to come on with you, Sarah. So it's great to be with you.
Where the loyalty lies. You know what?
Yes.
I love that, Kyle. Yeah.
This is becoming a very familiar message from everybody that comes on the show. Like Friedman comes on, I text him, hey, you want to come on the show? I'm only coming on for Sarah, not for you. So maybe I should just start this. Hey, Sarah wants to know if you'll come on our show, and then we can just avoid all this fun.
We can't help the fact that you're a Dolphins fan and you're not a Packers fan.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
We're not going to get into this stuff because that's just not fair. That's like low hanging fruit. Oh, the Dolphins haven't won since '75.
Speaking of low hanging fruit, what was the first thing you wanted to ask Kyle?
Hey, Kyle, how's the Stanley Cup parade route in Toronto right now? But on a serious note, how exciting is it to have the Battle of Ontario back in the playoffs?
I'm just looking out my hotel room window. I can see City Hall. The scaffolding has already started to go up.
As you can see behind me here, we have the makings of the route.
City workers have been cordoning off parts of University Avenue. No, it was a good crowd last night.
Yeah,
you guys, I'll tell you, because here in Toronto, it and often deserved gets a bad rap for not being the loudest building, including in the playoffs. But they were ready last night, whether it was the extra festivus mood of holiday weekend or just the excitement, as you say, of having the Battle of Ontario back for the first time in 21 years. And so funny that it was, 21 years to the day that Game 7 of their last meeting in 2004, they play Game 1 here in 2025. But yeah, you could feel it right away. I thought last year watching from afar when Edmonton and Vancouver played in the second round, and just how the vitriol, just the emotion online, you didn't even have to be in the buildings to feel the animosity. And already you could sense that the same way here before the puck dropped last night. So both fan bases are ready, and certainly here in Toronto, they were feeling pretty good about things because of all the things that they had been criticized for in years past where things haven't gone their way and they failed to get out of the first round or wherever it may be. The opposite kind of happened, right? Their top guys were all over the score sheet. The power play clicked not just once, but 3 times. And they looked like the more composed, experienced team out there for much of Game 1.
Kyle, this year, in addition to your duties with Hockey Night and everything, you've also added co-hosting 32 Thoughts with Elliot Friedman, and we heard the first car cast of the playoffs come out this morning as well. So when you're busy anyways, trying to keep track of not only obviously your own series, but I know that obviously you'd keep an eye on everything else that was going on across the league. How has it changed for you though for this postseason when you add that into the mix as well?
Yeah, it's a challenge, Sarah. As just covering just one playoff series when you're embedded in it, it's a lot. It very much is all encompassing. And so you're trying to, do it some sort of justice. If you're covering the series, you want to be in tune and be as prepared as possible. So things are constantly on your mind that way. And yeah, now, floating the podcast into this, it'd been in a season long kind of growing opportunity for me to kind of figure out how to navigate. Not only am I thinking about what the next game is the following weekend, but doing the 2 episodes a week and keeping tabs on what's going on. Not only just being aware of, okay, this is happening in Dallas and we've got this injury news out in Anaheim, but when it comes to actually discussing it, when we go to record an episode, how do I feel about certain things, right? To have a little bit of that side of it too. It's just been, it didn't happen overnight and I'm still figuring it out. And now here in the playoffs, it's a different beast altogether. I should mention, we brought in Justin Cuthbert from the Fan pregame show to help us out with that, just because mine and Elliot's schedules are a little bit wonky here now with him in studio every night. And then, this is a rare series where I live in Ottawa, where half of it I get to spend at home, but usually I'm on the road for the entirety of a series. So just trying to balance all that. Justin is going to do a great job in just helping keeping both of us, on track and navigating all of that. So it is a challenge there, because like the pendulum swings naturally way further towards the series that you're covering in terms of the time and energy you put into it. But trying to keep tabs on the other 7, you want to be able to try to do it. It's a little easier on a night like tonight. Like I can watch Winnipeg and St. Louis. I can watch Montreal and Washington, and then I'll at least catch the beginning of Edmonton and Los Angeles before, I'll try to get a little bit of rest. But it's the games that are going simultaneously to when the series you're covering is on. Like you can't see everything. So that's why we rely on, Elliot is great and somehow managing to do all of that. And as I say, having Justin there too. We're still figuring it out and kind of massaging how we want it all to be formatted, just to give the listeners what they expect and deserve to hear in terms of coverage of everything that's going on. But I think we're going to get there. It's just it's a new animal for us this time around.
Well, the fact that you have to keep an eye on all 8 series, Kyle, what has you really excited? I know we're a couple days into the playoffs, but what has you really excited with the 2025 Stanley Cup playoffs right now?
Well, you know what? I will say, Jamie, like it was really neat last year, covering the Oilers and the conference final against Dallas, and then the cup final against Florida, like just seeing how close they got and how very real that the possibility of like the Stanley Cup going back to a Canadian team. And now just the opportunity again, like the fact that we've got 5 Canadian teams in here. Winnipeg, like I thought that was real impressive in game 1, despite the fact that their MVP doesn't have their best night, but they still find a way to win. Like they've got a chance to do something special. Curious to see how Edmonton looks, and we know whether it's Toronto or Ottawa, at least we have one Canadian team going on to the second round. And not that I'm one to cheer for any given outcome one over the other, regardless of what the matchup is. But like just the opportunity, like I haven't seen it in my lifetime, a Canadian team win the Stanley Cup. And it feels like, this year more than, a lot of the others in my time at Sportsnet, it seems like, a lot still has to go right. Of course, we're very early on in the journey, but there's a legitimate chance that it could happen here this year. So I think that has me the most excited. As you both know, like of course, whether it's Winnipeg or any other of the Canadian markets, when they're in and they're making a run, like it just changes everything in terms of the interest in this country. For us at Sportsnet, like it's a big deal. It just all adds to the excitement for the audience that's following along with what you're doing. So the chance that could be a reality, and maybe we'll see it for the first time since '93. Like it's been too long. So I'm not, it doesn't matter who. I would just love to see it once here before too much more time goes by, and maybe the spring of 2025 is that time.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to say it to you publicly, but congratulations on 32 Thoughts. So you're doing great work as always. And Colin, the ENG operator here from Sportsnet, said to say hello to you, by the way. So
nice. Yes, say hello to Colin. Yeah,
he was going to pop his head in on the show, but it's not in his time frame. So Reynolds must be doing something important at this point.
Although, just a very quick note in the chat right now, there are comments comparing, pitting Sean Reynolds and his hair against yours, Kyle.
Not even close.
No, no. Like the thing is with Sean, like I'll give him credit. Like he'll let it grow out long. He rocks that. He cuts it down short. Like I'm a one-trick pony here. If it's not sitting like this, like you're not putting me on camera anywhere close to a camera. So I credit Sean's versatility. He's got a handle on that.
What did Ryan Leslie say that one time? He has hair plugs.
Is that what it is? Oh my God!
He started a rumor in the chat that Sean Reynolds has hair plugs or something like that. It was legendary. So,
all right, now it is going to go off the rails. We wish we had more time, Kyle. We know how busy you are, and we know it was a late night for you last night. Really appreciate you taking some time with us today, and we hope that we are going to see you at some point here in Winnipeg during this playoff season.
Oh, I would love it. Yes. Great to see both of you. And thank you very much for having me on. Enjoy tonight.
See you, buddy.
Bye.
Kyle Bukauskas. Didn't even cut him off this time. I'm getting the hang of that.
There you go. No apologies necessary afterwards. Okay. Just before quickly, because we are getting to the end of the time, but I did have the chance to speak to Neil Pionk just a short while ago after their morning skate, helping set up tonight's game. Neil, game 1 in the books, going into game 2 tonight. What was your biggest takeaway from Saturday night?
I thought our third period was our best period, so try to carry the momentum into tonight. At the same time, we got to watch whatever happened and reset, because they're going to come out hard.
What's the key to getting to your game quickly in that first?
I think playing simple, playing fast, and controlling that crowd noise. We get a little too jacked up sometimes, so we'll settle in eventually.
I was going to ask about the crowd noise with it, because even Stuttering On said after the game that he thought that maybe whether there was some nerves, some extra emotion. Can you describe what it's like as you're coming out? And just, it feels as if, or it looks as if almost the crowd's on top of you guys with the way this building's constructed.
Shakes the building. Gives you goosebumps still to this day, so that's kind of the nerves we have to deal with and we have to settle in with, and we love it.
What is it that you guys did so well against St. Louis to contain them in that third period?
I thought we just kept them out of the middle for the most part. We played simple and we limited their chances.
When you look at the penalty kill, what do you think will be the focus group to maybe have a higher efficiency going into this game if called upon?
Yeah, I think there'll be a couple things we talk about in the pregame meeting, whether that's shot blocking, whether that's system stuff, we'll see, but it'll definitely be a focal point tonight.
Describe the energy, just kind of whether it be around the city, in that room that you guys are feeling right now going into game 2.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Even the drive to the rink, you see people walking around in the white, and it's fun. Honk your horns at them and get them going.
Thanks so much for the time, Neil.
Thank you.
Neil Pionk, everybody.
Succinct in his answers.
You know what? You know him well, though, because you were like ready to go as soon as he's done. So you thought you're like
the first answer I thought, you sometimes forget just sometimes how, again, succinct he can be.
I can't believe a guy that talks as much as he doesn't talk that much. You know what I'm trying to say? Because he came in the pod and he talks forever, and everybody in the room says he doesn't shut up. So I'm just like, okay, we need this guy.
Well, it is incredibly cold out there.
Yeah.
So I think we both agreed beforehand that we were going to try to keep it as quick as possible to try to stay warm. Very quickly, the Blues are making some adjustments to their lines today. This came out of the morning skate. This was Jeremy Rutherford, who does a fantastic job. If you do not follow him right now, then make sure that you do, because he'll keep you up to date with everything that's happening with the Blues. And specifically, it's on left wing, first and second lines.
Yeah, Jimmy Snuggerud is going to go on the top line with Thomas and Buchnevich. Jake Neighbors will move down with Shen and Kyrou. Jake Neighbors drew a lot of attention in game 1. Of course, him and Alex Iafallo ran into each other quite often. As you could tell, Neighbors was trying to get underneath the Jets' skin, but Alex Iafallo did a good job of keeping his cool, but getting under their skin in a reverse way.
Yeah, Jim Montgomery saying they're hoping to create a little bit more offense and give us better defensive positioning with those top 2 lines. So again, with respect, they're not making a change in terms of personnel, but they are flipping the left wing on their top 2 lines. Very quickly, if we could just throw up the Jets lines again, no changes for it, but in case you were wondering, this is what we are expecting it to look like when things get going, and warm up starts at 6:00 today. It is a 6:30 start. I'm looking forward to this one. The street party opens up 2 hours beforehand, so everyone have a fantastic time out there beforehand. Get your whiteout gear if you haven't already.
I just got asked the boss of Jets Gear, and he keep messaging. He said, if it's white, we're selling it. So
understandably so. It was great to see. There were so many fantastic costumes, because they weren't even just outfits. It was full on costumes.
Beaker was that you said?
I shared an elevator with Beaker. I can't imagine having to sit.
Get in?
I can't imagine having to sit behind Beaker, but that, it was great. So kudos to all of you out there, Jets fans. You did a fantastic job. Looking forward to seeing more of that tonight. Looking forward to the energy, being able to equal it as well. The Jets have not historically had a lot of luck in the second game. They have a 3-8 record for it, but looking to change things and take a 2-0 lead into St. Louis.
As they would probably tell us, different personnel.
That 100% different year.
But it's up to us to keep bringing out the past.
Well, it's just a fact.
I agree with you.
Historically, they have done very well in first games. They haven't had the same sort of wins in the second. So they look to change that, keep things going the way that they have been able to change narratives throughout this year.
I remember after game 1 in Vegas, where everyone's like, okay, Stanley Cup final, here we go.
Yeah.
Last year, when that super exciting game with Colorado, we don't need to go into the rest. So but it's a much different feel about this group this year.
100%. All right. So that is it for us. No giveaways for today because we do not know when the next Whiteout Street Party is going to be, of course.
2 hours ahead of time, right? Like you said.
Yeah. But make sure that you stay tuned for games 3 and 4 because I'm going to twist some more arms and make sure that we have some more giveaways.
It's an amazing amount of stuff we have to like push to get free stuff to give away. Not very much at all.
I was going to say, do you have to? I just ask.
Well, obviously, I'm noticing from all the guests that come on. Oh, for Sarah, no problem.
Just saying.
I work with those people. 10 years.
Anyways, we'd love to see so many of you in the chat. Give away JT's hoodie.
You know what?
Just by
why
the
do I
end
even
of
come
this.
on the show anymore? Just to get picked on?
Yes. That is
bag.
why. This
Punching
is
bag.
another reason why I love all of you watching right now. Thanks so much. It was great to see so many of you in the chat. Again, hit that like button, subscribe. He's already done with it. Thanks so much. We'll see you for game 3.
Yeah,
Enjoy game 2. It should be a great one here tonight inside Canada Life Center.
Lots of fun. Looking forward to it. See you later, everybody.
Thanks for checking in.